We're pitching up a channel, bringing smiles to the world. We're hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends. Home run, you know the ways and the trends, the stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
Hey, great to be with you. It's a pleasure to be here on this November the 18th of 2025 as we get ready for more action in baseball. The 40-man roster is being set today. The qualifying offers being accepted or rejected today, and we have a few of those in baseball. And it's time to start thinking about ball again because these free agents are going to be signed. Some players from Japan are being posted now. So this is the ritual of baseball that we go through as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday. So great to be with you. Eric is with us, of course, from Giant Sports Talk Live, right?
Yes, sir.
A partner. And Rick Smith, who really was Rookie of the Year, I think, for us last year. And he's one of the great baseball fans and a good baseball solid man and knows the Giants inside and out. And we're glad to have Rick back with us again to talk some ball. So, guys, here we are. It's November. How do you feel just in general about baseball coming out of the World Series and the Giants heading into November? And Eric, we'll start with you.
All right. I tell you, after the World Series was concluded, and what a World Series it was. I mean, it was great. And, you know, as a Giants fan, you know, once the season was over, it's kind of like, all right, let's see what the Giants are going to do. And now we're in that time of the year, Marty. You know, it's kind of Christmas, you know, coming a little bit early. You got the GM meetings that just concluded. You got the winter meetings they're getting ready to happen. 40-man is set, and there's some news on that with the Giants. And then, of course, the free agents and all these guys are going to be posted. So it's the Giants have a lot to do on their to-do list, and it's going to be fun to watch to see what they're going to do. Today was announced. We'll talk about this a little bit later, I'm sure. The pitching coach for the Giants has now been announced for Tony Vitello's staff. So, yeah, it's time to kind of strap it in and then see what transpires here in this offseason.
All right, Rick, what do you think coming off this World Series, which was really excellent? The whole playoff, I thought, for October was good. Jeff Young joins us from around the Foghorn. Jeff, great to have you with us. Rick Smith is here. Great Giants fan, a good baseball man, and Eric, of course, my partner in the show here. So, Jeff, nice to have you as well. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to chat Giants baseball.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's Rick was just going to talk about a little bit. We're just saying how we feel on this November the 18th, getting ready for Giants baseball again. They get cranked up. Rick, how do you feel?
You know, that series was so good and the playoffs so good, I'm having a hard time getting into football. I really am. All I do is to watch the Niners once a week, and that's about it. But I think it's that series, that last game, my God, what great baseball that was. But on the other hand, it showed how far behind the Giants are. I mean, they don't match up to those good teams. You know, they match up to the Reds in the playoffs, who look terrible. Boy, they're far away. It's going to take more than one or two players to make this right.
You know, it's interesting, and Jeff, we'll get your thoughts on this. You know, they're only 5 wins away from the playoffs when you really think about it. I mean, I know maybe winning the playoffs, they're 17 wins away, you know, from being that kind of team. But heck, to get in, you get 86, 87 wins, and they did squeak out 81 of them. So they're not that far away, as Jeff Passan says, from being a playoff team. And it hit me. I said, well, what does that really mean to be a playoff team? And it's not the greatest thing in the world. It just means that you're capable of playing over 500. So, Jeff, for you, how do you feel about going into this off season and where we are right now?
Well, Marty, I mean, that's a good question. If you've read anything, which I'm sure you've had, anything that Greg Johnson or Buster Posey have said. They've kind of tempered expectations about who they're going to target this winter. I do wonder if that's a case of under promise and over deliver. Over the past couple of seasons, they've kind of had that same sense where it's like, we're not going to be aggressive, and then they go out, they make a couple of big moves. So I know there's been a lot said about what the Giants plan to do. To me, I think the front office is more about acting than conveying their plans through the media. I just don't think Buster Posey is too interested in doing that. So, but where do the Giants stand right now? They need a ton of pitching. It's kind of hard to talk about the playoffs than being a playoff team with where the bullpen is at. I mean, it's really a liability at this point. When it was a strength earlier in the year in 2025. So that bullpen needs to be remade. It's not the easiest thing to do in off season. It can be done, but it's not like you can just throw money at every reliever out there to just, get the return on an investment. So I think the Giants just need a ton of pitching right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Let's get to the topic of the day, at least right now. The 40-man roster was set, and the question was, would the Giants add some of their minor leaguers who may be eligible for the draft? And Jeff did a great job on this, on reading on Twitter today. I guess Jeff, it's around the Foghorn, it must be there as well. Did a great analysis of the Giants 40-man, which has to be set today. If you're not on the 40-man and you're in the minor league system, if you're over a certain age and this and that is 60,000 criteria, you could be drafted in the Rule 5 draft. But Jeff, bring us up to date on what the Giants did do today and what the impact may be, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, well, they didn't do anything. They didn't protect any of their Rule 5 eligible players from the 40-man roster or from the Rule 5 draft. And, this is kind of an exercise in risk assessment. They're trying to determine whether, anyone they don't protect, what are the odds that they get picked up by another team. And the fact that they didn't protect anyone makes me think that they don't think that they're going to lose anyone through the Rule 5 draft, and that Rule 5 draft happens in December. But I think it's an important reminder that even if somebody is drafted, the stick rate of them staying with their new team is usually pretty low. More often than not, players that get drafted through the Rule 5 draft get returned back to their original team. So the Giants didn't protect anyone. Will Bednar, who was a first-round pick in 2021, probably had the best case, but there wasn't really any slam dunk case to be made for any of their eligible players. So a little surprised that Bednar wasn't protected, but again, I just don't think the Giants are, I don't think there's a huge risk in not protecting any of their players at the moment.
Yeah, Rick, what's your take on that they did stand pat with assuming, as Jeff says, that they don't have a minor leaguer who they think will be picked by another team who would risk the chance of keeping the guy the whole year and taking up a roster spot? What does that tell you?
Well, they're a little bit slow and passive. I don't know if that's alarming or not. It's still real early, and I don't think Posey wants to make any huge mistakes. I mean, he's bold, that we know that. He's willing to do something, but I don't know. I don't think it means a whole lot. I just want to see him get this staff together and then go after. They need about 4 or 5 players. I mean, that's not going to be easy with not a whole lot to trade except for Eldridge. So I'm interested in seeing what happens with Tony V and what he constructs, and it's got to be with the help of the front office. Obviously, he's not going to pick his own people, at least not without the okay of the front office. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's kind of exciting because we got this young manager with no experience, kind of wild. But let's just see what happens, what develops.
All right, Eric, where do you stand on this one?
Yeah, it's kind of an indictment on the Giants minor league talent, right? I mean, I think last year they protected a couple of guys. I think it was pitchers. But this year you're not protecting anybody. So they're not very high on some of their minor leaguers. So I don't know. That doesn't bode well for the Giants and maybe the depth that they could have. Now, some of them are already on the 40-man. Maybe that's probably why. I mean, you got Kai Wei Tang, you got Wynn, you got Birdsong, and of course Landon Roop, who may be in the rotation. But maybe they just already got the guys that they want on their 40-man, and there's really no one else that they needed to protect. Obviously that's the answer, because they didn't protect anyone. So, well, we're just going to have to see what the Giants are going to do here in this offseason. It doesn't look now whether or not they're going to get anybody into Rule 5. Maybe that's going to happen. Maybe the Giants are going to be a little bit active in that Rule 5 draft in December, as Jeff talked about.
Well, they may have to do it to get a reliever,
Right.
and they may have to pick somebody up, and you can kind of stash them on the in the bullpen. If a guy throws 98 or throws 100, you can get away with it. But I'm not sure what it says about the farm system, because it's only guys who would be eligible for the Rule 5 draft. So they still have a lot of guys who are still in the farm system that they have some hope for. So we'll see. But something that came up about a week ago, and Rick pointed this out to me, of how many of the managers have been signed this year who really have no experience at all. What's happened to the game? I mean, what happened, really? And Joe Madden spoke out about this. He was insulted that Tony V was hired, and, right off a college campus. And here Joe spent 45 years, out of Salinas trying to get hired, and finally did by the Angels. But you look at Walt Weiss, who had some experience before, and he's going to manage the Braves. But Albernaz at the Orioles, Shelton at the Twins, he's had some experience. Craig Stammen, I thought he was still pitching. I didn't realize he's not pitching anymore. Seriously. Then you get Tony V, Butera, who I thought was Sal Butera, but it's not. He's not related to, remember Sal, the clubhouse lawyer, Sal Butera, became a coach. His kid was involved too. This is Blake Butera, something like that, with the Orioles. Then you get Kurt Suzuki, who just retired, and, he seemed like he was just catching for the A's and the Angels. And then Skip Schumacher, who actually is a legitimate manager. So what do you make of that? And Colorado hasn't picked anybody yet.
Nope.
So what do you, Jeff, you follow the game closely. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand where Joe Madden's feeling kind of insulted, because I just don't know how much experience is, how much that's weighed in terms of hiring managers today. I mean, the guys you mentioned, Butera, Suzuki, Vitello. I mean, some of these guys have no managing experience. So I just think that experience probably doesn't have the value that it once had. And they're looking at the soft skills, the ability to, keep the morale high in the clubhouse, because baseball's a grind. It's a long season. You go through ups and downs. And I think you just want somebody who's not going to ride the waves. You want somebody who's going to be able to keep everyone kind of motivated and engaged. So I think they're looking more at personality and soft skills with today's managers than they're looking at when it comes to experience. So I just, that's where baseball has been trending for a few years. So it's not, some of the names are surprising. Craig Stammen, one of the ones you mentioned, Marty, I thought he was still pitching too. But it's just, that's where today's game is at right now.
Yeah, they could get away with it. Go ahead, Eric, a second. I mean,
Could it be?
Because of the analytics, because the game is scripted to some degree, and it takes the pressure off the manager with all the information. Go ahead.
And that's what it is. You're talking about the soft skills, and that's fantastic. And I think that's what it is. I think the game is being dictated by baseball ops much more today than it ever has. You used to have to be the field general as a manager, right? Not only did you have to manage the personalities in the clubhouse, but you had to go out there and, hey, how are my guys doing? You're keeping tabs on them. What's my bullpen status? Who am I going to pinch hit in the 7th inning when I got to face a lefty? And that's kind of, I guess, laid out for them now. And maybe that's not a strength that was prevalent in previous managers as it is today, because they got a cheat sheet or an iPad or whatever you want to call it. And, the decisions are right there in front of them, and they don't really have to use their eyes, so to speak, and the decision-making process is kind of taken away from them because of baseball ops.
Yeah, but I think it's more proof that the diminishment of the manager's influence. I mean, it's pretty apparent that there's going to be more control by the front office. I don't know. I'm not sure it's just I'm not sure this is good for the game. I like a manager out there that's kind of dynamic and makes a difference. I'm not so sure they want a manager like that anymore. They want to control it, have the manager be one of them, works for the front, not independent, not all that dynamic. And I'm not sure that's good, but they want that control, which never happened before.
Well, it's interesting because it's the Giants. And, the Giants have sort of rejected that, the robotic manager kind of guy. And all of a sudden they have a manager who has no experience whatsoever. I want to read something to you, an article that I read, and it's brief, but I think it makes a couple of points I want you to comment on. Ball players are born, not made. If ball players could be made, I could take you out there on the field and teach you to play shortstop in Major League style. A manager can help a player bring out his talents, but can't create talent, or it doesn't exist any more than he could put water in a car's gas tank and say, now you're gasoline. After the manager picks what he considers his best team, he plays the type of game that team is best suited for. If he has a fast club, he plays a running game, and that's a point I want to elaborate later in the article. If he has a power club, he plays for the big inning. If he has good pitching and good defense, he plays for one run and counts on keeping the other team from scoring much. I think that's a good way to play in the article. After he picks his team and decides what style of game it is best suited for, the manager comes to his biggest job. That is to keep the boys liking him and wanting to play for him and to make them want to win. The trick is to know how to handle each man to get the best out of him. And that's basically what he says as manager. And it's an interesting article. Jeff, what do you think about the comments in that article?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stands out is having the team still like him. That's the one that I kind of relate to, I guess, because that's what managers are that's what today's managers are like. They're not the abrasive, the grumpy guys anymore. It's like kind of like, hey, I'm your friend too. That's the vibe that today's managers kind of give off. So that's the phrase that stuck out to me.
Yeah, and I like the point of trying to figure out what kind of club you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And based on the club. Now, just so you know, that article was written in 1952, and that is Sport Magazine. Hold up right there. That's Chico Carrasquel on the cover, and that was Marty Marion, who had just been hired by the Cardinals in 1951 and then got fired the next year. And this was his first year of managing. This is what he was talking about. But it applies today. So my question to you guys is, and it relates to who they're going to get and what the makeup of the club is, what kind of club do they have? Do they have a fast club with good defense? Do they have a pitching club? Do they have a power club? What do they got? And where are they? And I think that's the question to answer tonight for everybody as we go forward. Rick, go ahead.
They got a strikeout club is what they got. They got everybody doing the same thing. The Giants need to imitate the team that Toronto had this year. I mean, they have a superstar in Guerrero, right? Hits home runs. They got a bunch of guys that put the ball in play. They don't strike out that much. They're good situational hitters. I thought they were a terrific team. I thought they were the better team, honestly. And I agree, they need to figure out who they are, but also need to figure out who they want to be. That's the first step. Who do they want to be? And get the players that are can you put in that slot, in those slots that help you fashion your team like you want to have, and not be reactive. Have a plan, right? I don't know if they've had a plan recently. They couldn't have had a plan if they brought Devers over, who was redundant. If they have Eldridge, now I didn't understand that unless they already thought about trading Eldridge. But if you think about it, what was their thought process? They got Eldridge and they got Devers. Eldridge is going to be a 21-year-old DH. I think that's crazy. So, I mean, I think maybe now they're putting more thought into what type of team they want to have, which is your point, Marty.
Well, I think they need a pitching defense speed team. And I think we saw a little bit of that with Toronto, at least, a little bit of running the bases first to third and putting the ball in play. But to win in that ballpark, you have got to do one thing first, and that's pitch. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to say, all right, where do we start with this thing to give Vitello a team that he can identify with? I got to start with the pitching in that ballpark. And they've got Webb, who Cy Young candidate. I thought he had a great season. Ray, who fell apart a little bit at the end, which is a little bit of a red flag for me. He's Robbie Ray. He's not Madison Bumgarner. He's not. He's Robbie Ray. You get what you get. And after that, you got Landon Roop, who's, more famous for fighting a bear than anything else accomplished in the big leagues. We love him. He's been on the show with us, but I love him. But, he's got to show me he can pitch, 150, 180 innings. And then they got nothing after that. So if you're starting this Giants team right now, I think you got to concentrate on the pitching.
Absolutely. And how are they going to do that? Are they going to free agent? Are they going to trade? I mean, when you go free agency, yeah, there may be some guys out there that are under that $100 million. But then again, if you're going to pay for a guy who's under $100 million, well, you're going to get that type of player. And it's not going to be, maybe he's good, maybe he's not. Those guys who are commanding those 9-figure digits, those are your better pitchers. And I think the Giants need one of those better pitchers. How are they going to get that? I don't know. And of course, not to miss the bullpen. The bullpen also, you're going to have to get a closer as well. So, to your point about what you're saying about the organization, Buster Posey has said it many a times, right? Pitching and defense, that's his, and timely hitting, and that's kind of what the Giants were doing in the beginning of the season, and even through, if you want to even say through the All-Star break, the pitching was incredible. I mean, they were in the top 5. A lot of the time in the top 3 of in ERA. So they were doing great in preventing the runs coming across. They were just having struggles scoring enough runs to win the game. So, yeah, I'm guessing pitching is going to be the focus, and we're just going to have to see how Buster Posey is going to navigate this.
Well, they got to get one guy. They have to get a third guy. And now Verlander eventually became the third guy and was very good. The last 6 weeks, he was very good. The last 6 weeks of the season, they need a third guy. And then you can worry about Tidwell and Seymour and McDonald and Wisenhunt and, can have Roop as the fourth guy. Then, you worry about the fifth guy. They need the third guy. And it's not from within. I don't think it's birdsong. And I just don't, as much as the new pitching coach is a great communicator, came from the Pirates, came from the Brewers. Quite frankly, the Pirates, Paul Skeens was okay, and they had some pitchers, but, give me 5 Pirate pitchers in the last 10 years, if you can. So I think they have to go out and get somebody, and I'll go to the list. If I had to pick somebody on the list, I want Ranger Suarez.
Yeah.
I like him.
I want Ranger Suarez. I think money-wise, he's not going to be crazy. And I think the guy knows how to pitch, and he's left-handed, and I like him.
You need to get a lefty in there, right? To get Shohei and Freeman, and you're going to have that lefty in there, and I like that.
Yeah. So what were they doing last year? What was the philosophy? What were they trying to do? They just like you said, everybody said, they got to have a team with good pitching and good defense. The pitching fell apart. They didn't hit at all. And then their defense wasn't that good, especially in the outfield.
Well, Jeff, what was your biggest surprise last year coming out of spring training and how it ended up?
Yeah, I think a couple of pitching surprises. One, Justin Verlander being as good. He had a really rough start. The first 4 months weren't that great, but when you look at his stats in aggregate, he had good numbers. He pitched 150 plus innings. He had a 3.85 ERA or something in that neighborhood. And then Robbie Ray being as good as he was, I wasn't expecting that either. If you look at his career numbers, he can be very good some years. He can also be a back end rotation arm, and with what they're paying him, they really need him to be more of the guy he was in the first half last year. So those were a couple of the surprises. Randy Rodriguez also becoming an all-star pitcher. I think the stuff was always there. There was never a question about that, but the command and control was left a little bit to be desired, but that wasn't an issue at all in 2025 before he went down with injury. So those three kind of stand out as the biggest surprises for me.
Yeah, for me, coming out of spring training, and we all were down there at some point, I thought the pitching was really deep. Yeah, how are we going to get enough starts for everybody? It's 7 or 8 deep. And then it just completely blew up. I mean, Roop was fine, and then he got hurt. Birdsong, forget it. I mean, who knows if he's going to have a major league career. He looked terrific. Yeah. And Wisenhunt never really got out of the blocks. He was always hurt, something up with him. Keaton Wynn, God, what a lost year that was for him. Carson Seymour, a lost year for him. That to me was the shocking part. So that's what they have to avoid that this year. And that's why I think the one free agent, whether it's going to be King or Ranger Suarez or Gallen or Framber Valdez or something, I don't think it's Dylan Cease. I don't think they want to get involved with him. But it's got to be somebody who can walk in here and then roll the dice with the other guys, but don't rely on them. And I think that was the biggest mistake from last year.
Yeah, Buster Posey said that they were relying on the young arms, and he kind of said that too. Now, I don't mind relying them on as depth. You got them in AAA. You're going to need a lot of pitchers in an entire season. So you got those guys that could come up, whether it's Kai Tang and Wynn or Birdsong, Seymour. If you got to have them come up and have some spot starts here and there, I get it. That makes sense. But you got to have a legitimate rotation, right? Webb and Ray, your number 3, maybe the number 3 is going to end up being a number 2. Who knows? And you got Roop, and I'm okay with Roop. And then you got to have that number 5. So, yeah, I mean.
Well, I'll give you another one. And then I know they want to surround Tony with, things that make him comfortable, which they're doing. I think he had a lot to say about the Toronto hitting coach coming over. I think he had a lot to say about Tingler, obviously, coming over. I don't know what his input was with the pitching coach, but I guarantee you he had input there. They didn't just pick this guy out of the air who we never heard of. But for me, looking at Scherzer and seeing Scherzer out there and knowing that they want to make this soft landing for Tony as much as they can, do you think they get involved with Scherzer?
Wow. Well, are they going to bring Verlander back?
I'd rather have Verlander. I'd rather have Verlander.
Yeah.
Do they need 240 and over pitchers? I don't know about that.
No, Verlander's no. He I don't think he wants a comeback. What does he want to be here for? I mean, the guy actually, if he was on a decent team, could have won 16 games last year and could be, actually talking about 300. But what about Scherzer?
There's a strong connection there. Hard to ignore with the Tony Vitello, Max Scherzer connection. But can he help the Giants? I mean, he was great in that Game 7 start that he had against the Dodgers. But overall, I mean, the past couple of years, he hasn't been nearly as sharp. And he's in his 40s. I think the Giants, they signed Verlander last year. So there's a template for this to signing a veteran pitcher of that caliber. But I don't know. It'd be hard for me to look at this rotation. You'd have to add somebody else in addition to Scherzer. But it'd be hard for me to look at this rotation and say, like, yes, this is the strength. This is how they're going to win games if Scherzer's in the rotation. Nothing against him. He's just not the same pitcher he once was.
No, but Tony V must win the clubhouse.
Yeah.
You see, he must. The little thing I read, the guys have to like him. Devers has to, all right, Tony V, I hear you. Go Vols. I'm with you, he's got to win the clubhouse, and part of the lure of him, he's an opposite of Posey, and he's an aggressive, upbeat kind of guy. And again, let's see what kind of a team he has to see how he can manage it. But here, George Corey, Eric, you can read this. What his name is? I can't even get his name.
Yeah, George Corey. Yeah, he's good. He's
Make him a pitching coach.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the deal. You bring Scherzer in, and now he's the veteran with Logan Webb, who's buying into Vitello. I guarantee you, Logan Webb's like a football player. He loves it, I'm sure. And Ray is just happy to be here. You know that. So Scherzer actually comes in and maybe is the guy who talks the bird song and the rest of them.
If I can just ask a question about or offer some comments. How can they change? How can they rid themselves of what happened last year offensively? Everybody says the same thing about needing pitching and defense. No question about it. I mean, they won with that, 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago. But how do they change what happened? If they have the same players, how is that not going to happen again? They had everybody striking out. They went in a slump, but they didn't have any on-base type players, anybody that generated runs. So they all went in the tank, which happens once in a while, but they stayed in the tank long time because they couldn't hit home runs. Instead of playing baseball, it was home run derby, which they weren't involved in, and they didn't win any home run derbies because everybody struck out. They need more players like Kwan. Can they get somebody like Kwan to totally change the dynamics on that team? That's what they need to do. You can't watch another year where each of them strikes out 180 times. That's just crazy.
Let's talk about the outfield and get Jeff's opinion on this, and Eric, you too. Jung-Hoo Lee, I think they're dying to get him out of center field.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Sorry, was there a question with that, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jung-Hoo Lee, I mean, he didn't have a good year defensively. I do like the more I think about it, I do wonder if fatigue started to kick in for him, because he was actually pretty decent early in the year. And then just the second half, there was just so many defensive gaffes out there. And I don't know if the Giants are quite there yet with wanting to move him out from center field. But if there's another subpar season like he had defensively in 2025, I think that's a conversation that they have to have. And that just might be the better long-term role for him anyway. Like going to right field, he has a strong arm. He could have Steve Kwan-like upside by being a corner outfielder, but his defense wasn't nearly strong enough to be really a good center fielder with how he played last year. So I think they're fine with him in center field. I think they need to give him, somebody that they can that can give him a day off. They didn't really have another center fielder out there. So I think that's probably one area of the roster that they should look to target, is just having a fourth outfielder who can handle center field to give him some free time.
Yep. I think there's a little bit of platooning for him in his future. Yep. I do. What do you do with Ramos? Now, look, he does hit, but defensively, and this Kevin Kiermaier, made this big splash the other day, said, hire me. I can, make anybody a great defensive outfielder. But what do you do with Ramos? And what do you do in right field? Because you just can't have that same outfield out there again next year. And I think Matos, I'd say his days are done. I don't think he's in the picture. So Eric, Rick, go ahead. Somebody.
And to your point, well, you could talk about the 40-man. You think Luciano or Matos or Encarnacion are going to even be part of it? I don't think they are. And so I'm guessing they're going to make some moves to upgrade that. I mean, they picked up that kid Dean from the Dodgers, and look, if you're going to go deep with the pitching, I'm okay if you want to go get a Harrison Bader. The guy has a good glove. If you're talking defense, he's a right-handed bat who seems to come through into clutch at times. Injuries, I think, is an issue with him, but I would love to see Harrison Bader out there. How about Dom Smith? We forget about Dom Smith. The guy was incredible. When the Giants were on that run, Dom Smith was coming through in so many situations with those clutch line drives.
Where are you going to play him?
That's the problem.
Yeah, where are you going to play him?
That's the problem. I thought the platooning of Devers and Dom Smith was pretty good. One was DH and the other one was playing first base, and it seemed to work. Now, supposedly he had an interview, I think it was during the Mets series. He said he had worked on the outfield quite a bit in the offseason. So maybe he's going to do the same, and maybe he could put him out in left field. Can't be any worse than Ramos, but I like the way I liked his approach at the bat, but the defense.
Pitching and defense.
Yeah,
you need outfield defense, which leads me to Drew Gilbert, who, what a gift for him getting, Vitello as a manager. But where do you put him? Is he the move? Is he the right field move? Well, and Bader's a University of Florida guy, but Bader has enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. And when Gilbert first came up, remember I said I like Gilbert? Remember he was the only guy when he struck out, he went, God, like he got upset when he would strike out. He would say the F word.
He couldn't hit, right? He couldn't hit.
It turned out he didn't hit a lot.
Tony V is going to like him because he went to Tennessee. He knows him. Like him.
So what do you do here? Harrison Bader, Jeff. Well, Jeff, you're not a Harrison Bader fan. I know that.
No, I've actually always liked Harrison Bader. More so as a fourth outfielder. If you're expecting him to replicate the numbers in 2025 that he put up, and he had a really good season, I wouldn't bank on that. But the past couple of years, I thought he'd be a really good fit for the Giants. I just don't like this offseason because his agent's going to want to roll his strong season into probably a multi-year deal. And I don't know if that's really a good fit for what the Giants want. But as a fourth outfielder, I mean, I think he'd be a great fit. But I think he's looking for more a bigger role than that. And he had a good enough year to kind of warrant that.
How old is Bader?
It's like 30.
30s, right? Yeah.
He's a good player. I don't need to see Ramos.
On a 25-man roster, you like a spot for Bader. Yeah. You can make a spot for him. It's okay. He's been on teams that won. He's okay. So I could work with that. But the Ramos thing, are you looking at left field next year on opening day against the Yankees, having Ramos in left field?
I've seen enough. A lousy defensive player strikes out a lot. They need to make some changes. That wouldn't be a change. That's why I like Quan. I mean, how much money is Quan going to want?
Well, why would Cleveland trade him?
Yeah, that's the issue right there.
They have a pretty good track record of trading guys before they hit free agency. You can the guys that they do trade. I mean, it's usually before 1+ year of team control, and he has 2 years of team control. So my guess is within the next 12 months, he'll probably be moved because they don't. They're a small market team. They don't really re-sign their guys. I mean, Jose Ramirez is the exception, and he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, and you could make an exception for that.
Yeah. But we have this looming strike ahead of us, and a lot of it goes to competitive balance and teams that don't sell guys just because they're going to get big contracts. And Skubal is in that mix right now with Detroit, and Quan that could be in that mix as well. There may be some pressure on these teams to start paying people as opposed to having that reputation. And that's another story that's going to loom over this free agency thing to see guys who get re-signed. But let's look at the closer for a second, because they don't have a closer. I think that's clear. I love Walker. He's the nicest guy in the world. No, he's not a closer. Buto, no chance. He's not a closer. I don't think they have one on the roster right now. If you could have Diaz, Suarez, or Williams, those are the three big ticket items out there. Is it worth it on a team like the Giants who, want to get close to the playoffs to have that guy? Because Randy Rodriguez is gone, Duvall is gone, and they don't have that minor leaguer ready to jump, as far as I can see. Where do you go? Do you go with one of these three guys? And I'll start with Jeff on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of paying the money that it takes to sign a top closer like that. There's definitely exceptions to this, and there's a case to be made if you have a solid bullpen but you're missing that one piece, go out and get that top free agent. But the Giants don't have a solid bullpen, and they're not one piece away. So to me, it's like, I'm okay with them passing on Diaz, Suarez, Williams. The one guy I do like and who might be a pretty good value is Raisel Iglesias, who just finished up with the Braves. He's not going to be in the same market as those other guys, and there might be an opportunity for a good value deal for some team out there. And that's kind of the guy I look at. Maybe not the slam dunk closer that some closers are, but every closer is going to blow a handful of games every year. So if I'm the Giants, I'd probably stay away from those three guys you mentioned.
Rick?
Well, I don't think they have one. I liked Walker. I did. I don't know what happened to him. He lost it. I would, not that he's the closer, but I'd try to bring back Rogers. I mean, he was a force. He was a good pitcher. He wasn't quite as good for the Mets, but I sure liked him in the seventh inning. And when they went south because of that bullpen. And they need some pitch. They need 2 or 3 pitchers in that bullpen. So I don't know about a closer, but I'd bring Rogers back. I don't know how much he wants, but I like
I'll
it.
give you another name that's out there is Bassett from Toronto. We're looking for that third piece, fourth piece, fifth piece, and a pitching staff. He was a good man in the playoffs. He gave the Giants some trouble. He's been with the White Sox, been with the A's. He's kicked around a little bit. He's in his 30s. You like Bassett?
I like Bassett as a long man, right? I think he'd be pretty great as a long man. Maybe spot start in the 5th if you have to, something like that. There's no doubt he's got value, right?
Would you rather have him or Sonny Gray?
Oh, yeah.
Sonny Gray could be available.
How old is Sonny Gray?
35?
35.
Is he 30, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Looks like he's about 20, but that's
Not the same pitcher he was, though. Right?
Yeah,
No.
I don't.
no. So I'm going to throw Chris Bassett out there, and then the Japanese pitcher is,
Am I?
as I said to open the show, is being posted. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but great. And 27 years old. You saw what Yamamoto did coming over and what Sasaki did. This guy looks legit. Do you spend money on someone like this? The Giants go after him.
That's a great question because, I mean, how much is it? Because you got to pay a posting fee, and then you got to give him his contract.
It will cost you $150 million or something.
150. So if you're going to pay 150, I'd say use that to get Ranger Suarez. But that's me. Again, he's got the proven track record, and yes, I'm using the E word again, right? He's got experience in the MLB, but he's had success at the MLB. Is he a little bit older? Yeah, he's going to be 30, but I think Ranger Suarez. But and maybe there's upside with MI. I don't know enough about him to sit there and say, hey, it's going to be a slam dunk. I mean, look what happened with look, you got success and you got failure. You got Otani and Yamamoto and Roki in LA, but look what's Kodai Senga. He got sent to AAA at the end of the season. You got Imanaga.
By the way,
yeah, he might be available. Imanaga, who we thought maybe be available, but he's one of the guys that accepted a qualifying offer. But the Cubs didn't want to take his option because, well, maybe they didn't like what they saw for whatever reason. So again, it's a crapshoot. It's a risk that's something that the Buster's been doing all off season. So maybe MI is a valid.
They need one.
They need one.
They need one for sure. Then you can fool around with the other 2 spots with your young players or a Bassett or someone like that. Anybody going to get non-tendered here off of this roster? There's only 3 arbitration eligible players, if I've read your piece correctly, Jeff, and one at Brubaker, Kinsler, and Lucchesi. How about that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Lucchesi is tendered a contract. I mean, the arbitration eligible players for the Giants, I mean, it's going to be such a small portion of their overall payroll that you could go either way with some of these guys. Like Kisner, he was fine as a backup. He didn't do much offensively for whatever the projected salary is, which is probably around $2 million. Not a bad insurance policy to have. You don't want to run out of catchers. You don't want to start the year with too few catchers. JT Brubaker, he only made a couple of appearances. I think they'll probably non-tender him. Just we didn't see enough of him. It's really hard to tell. And then just a point of clarification for Friday, I think is that deadline. They can non-tender players who are not arbitration eligible on Friday. It's kind of a unique day, and you wouldn't have to pass them through waivers. So there are some guys like maybe a Kai Wei Tang who might be non-tender. They did that last year with him, and that removes him from the 40-man roster. So it's not just the arbitration eligible guys. It's some of the pre-arbitration guys as well. So probably Lucchesi is as good of a case to be tendered as any of the three, but that's probably about it for me.
Yeah, I'd say Lucchesi will be tendered.
Yep.
I like Lucchesi. Let me ask you a question. This isn't a comment. I want just a question. What happened to Birdsong?
Oh. Yeah, so I mean, it's something I can kind of touch on a little bit. One of the things I didn't like about how the Giants started the year was having Birdsong in the bullpen, understanding that he could offer value in that role. But I want to see him just get starts, whether that was in AAA or the majors. That's all. I just wanted to see him get stretched out, get those innings up, pitch 5 or 6 innings per outing. I know one of the things that he said throughout the year, maybe it was late in the year, he said making the transition from the bullpen back to the rotation was harder than he envisioned. And I just wonder if that was one of those things that had like a downstream effect that really affected the rest of his year. So to me, I think what happened to him was probably starting him in the bullpen wasn't the best idea, even though he did add value out of the bullpen. He was electric in that role. He made a handful of appearances, was really good. But I don't know if that was the best role for him. I see we have another.
Rick
Rick's
hilarious. All right.
Yeah.
He's got a sweater on too. I love it.
There's the poster right there.
Yeah.
KO.
Does he throw left-handed? That's important.
That's great. I love it.
Could be a lefty. Good boy.
Jeff, can I ask you a question about the 40-man? They got 3 catchers. They got Rodriguez, they got Kisner, and are they going to hold on to 3 catchers on the 40-man?
Well,
I think that's pretty. That's not uncommon having 3. Okay. And then Jesus Rodriguez. I know the Giants have said all the right things. I saw him a little bit when he came to Sacramento after that Duvall trade. He just looked a little rusty, a little bit. I think the Giants team is a work in progress. So I don't know if they would be comfortable with him starting the year as their backup catcher in 2026, but I think they hope that he can morph into a decent backup catcher with a little more, with some more reps.
Okay.
Yeah, he's getting a chance. I'll tell you that. We're going to see a lot of him in spring training. So now, and Rick brought this up, and I commend them for this foresight and seeing this. What do you do with Eldridge? What do you do with Eldridge? And let's assume he's on the team. How do you work him in with Devers? What do you do with Devers? And do you regret getting Devers? Or is Eldridge trade bait? Or does he need a whole other year in the minor leagues to show that he can really crush the ball in the minor leagues? What do you do with Eldridge?
Well, I trade him. He's another example of what happened last year. A lot of strikeouts, occasional home run. He doesn't change anything, and they need a change on that offense. They need guys to get on base, move runners. Is situational hitting.
Well, what if it turns out to be a 40 homer guy, Rick?
Well, I don't. Could be, and that's the reason you might get something for him. But I think the only one that, well, I should say the only one. I mean, Chapman. I like Chapman. I like Adames. Devers makes a difference because he changes the batting order. You always know where he is. The other team always knows when he's going to come up. whereas the other ones don't. They're not that concerned. With Devers, he makes a significant difference. Eldridge doesn't change anything, and we've all said they need some different type of offense. Look, when they won the World Series, they didn't have a bunch of guys with 35 home runs. It wasn't that type of team, and they won because they had great bullpen, great pitching, great defense. Eldridge doesn't add anything. That's my point.
Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know if the Giants know what they're going to do with that Devers Eldridge dynamic. I mean, they've said all the right things, saying that they envision both of them splitting time at first base and DH. But Marty, I mean, this might be a question. This might be a question for you too, Rick. I can't think of, and I haven't been watching baseball as long as you guys have been. I can't think of a long-term first base DH duo like that working out and being successful for like a competitive team. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but I think it's just kind of an odd fit. It's I work in accounting and so a lot of times I use square peg round hole, and that's not to say that's what this what this setup is with Devers and DH, but it just kind of feels like a little bit of a square peg round hole. You're trying to jam two players into the lineup, and there's not really in a perfect world, there's another position for Eldridge, and I have to wonder if the Giants consider that at some point soon, because I don't know, it's just not really great to limit a 20-year-old to DH and first base. I mean, it could work if you're Nick Kurtz, of the A's, great, yeah, that works, and that could be Eldridge's upside, but I just can't think of a long-term setup like this working.
Also, if you're going to have a redundancy, you want a right-handed batter. You don't want to take any at-bats away from Devers, whether he plays first or DHs. Eldridge is going to take bats away from Devers unless it just doesn't make any sense what they've got going right now. They know that. They got to know that.
And I think, and last year with the Dom Smith and Devers, I think the reason why that worked out is because Devers was just trying to figure out first base. It gave him the breathing room to figure it out. Now you got an entire offseason and spring training to get even better at first base. Again, talking about Devers. As far as Eldridge, I don't know unless you put him on the outfield. I heard he wasn't that good in the outfield.
Slow.
But and yeah, that's I've heard it kind of awkward out there. Yeah. So it's an interesting. I don't know. I mean, you don't trade them away for just nothing. That's for sure. You're going to have to trade them to. You want something back in significant. Is it going to be another arm? Isn't that kind of how it usually works? Usually a hitter gets you a pitcher gets you a hitter type of situation. So maybe they shop them off for a starting pitcher somewhere that feels because right at this particular time they don't need Eldridge. And I'll say this, Buster Posey has said this all along. He likes contact, doesn't like high strikeouts. At the trade deadline, he said that Eldridge is not untouchable. He also traded for Rafi Devers. So I don't know if that's an indicator of where they feel about Bryce Eldridge. So I don't know. If you could get something for him and it's significant, you got to do it. Because again, with prospects, we've seen this with Joey Bart. We saw it with Christian Arroyo. We saw it with Chris Brown. I mean, we could name a bunch of prospects that just didn't quite make it. Maybe he's a difference. I don't know. But if you're trying to put together a roster, you're going to have to get a piece back for him if you are going to trade.
Well, he's no Gary Brown.
He's no Gary Brown. That's true.
Oh,
that's a fact.
He's no Gary Brown. All right. Gary Brown, I saw him play the outfield with Harper. On one side, I forget who was on the other side. It was in the fall league.
It was Mike Trout, I believe.
It was
right?
a Trout. Yeah, I'm watching.
I think
this,
it was.
And it's Harper, Gary Brown, and Mike Trout.
Wow.
In the fall league, that was pretty good. Someone brought up Luis Arise. Would you like him? Yeah, I could put up with him and his defense at second base.
I love him.
Love the way he hits, and I like the way he plays. Yeah. I could put up with that. Let me wrap it up with Eldridge. We'll see what happens. He's the best they got in the minor leagues. He's the closest to being a superstar, at least potential-wise, of anyone they've got in the minor leagues. And I just don't – he's only 20 or 21 years old. How do you deal him at this point? I think you got to see what he's got. I really do. I think you have to wait and give him another year.
Well, where's he going to play? I mean,
I'm guessing you're saying AAA, Marty. Is that what you're saying?
where's he going to play?
It's either AAA or you play him up here, and you do split him with Devers.
I think that's a bad idea. I really do. Jeez.
Look, he could, he could strike out 180 times and hit 40 home runs.
You mean he's as good as Devers as a hitter?
Well, Devers should be hitting 310, not 230. I expect Devers to have a different year this year, coming with a full year and everything to come back. Devers last year was not a good year. If you saw Devers just as a Giant, and you said, "Would you sign that guy for $300 million?" I'm not so sure you'd do it.
Don't you think his defense was pretty good, Devers, at first base?
Devers, it was all right. It was adequate.
It wasn't bad.
It was adequate. But I think we covered a lot of ground here. Clearly bullpen pieces. I think that's Jeremy Shelley. Go out and get 5 non-drafted free agent kind of guys and minor league free agents and all that business, and you get them in there and hope that a couple of them stick. Maybe a couple of these pitchers that they've got can be, short men in the bullpen. I think they're closer to having a bullpen than to having a nice identifiable theme of a team on the field. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they? Who are the Giants?
I agree.
That's what I'm looking for. Who are the Giants? So we'll see what happens. Mark Hallberg is gone.
Yeah,
that
I was surprised.
A little bit of a surprise for me. But again, it's a new manager, and you don't want people maybe looking over your shoulder, or managers in waiting, or that kind of business. And maybe Hallberg represented that. I have no idea. But that surprised me.
I didn't see that one coming. I thought they were going to kind of mold him, bench coach maybe, and maybe eventually be a manager. But
Tingler's the one.
What's Tingler going to do? We haven't even announced what is he going to be, an assistant manager, a bench coach?
He's his guy. He's his, Don Zimmer to Joe Torre. He's because look, Tony Vitello has managed as many major league games as I have.
Right.
Seriously. And so, as I said,
a frightening thought, Marty. That's a frightening thought.
Well, it's true. And you watch Schneider, for Toronto, and the guy's sweating in the 7th inning. And should he take the guy out? Should he bring the guy in? Well, should he bunt with Jimenez? And blah 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 blah. I mean, there's so many decisions to make.
Yeah.
So many.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting. I'll tell you that. It's going to be interesting. So we'll see what they do. But the big thing is they have a couple of coaches in line now, the pitching coach, the hitting coach. They probably have the bench coach. So we'll see where they go. But that to me, every day will be a story with this guy. Every day.
I think so.
Yeah. Every day. Well, we do have a good sponsor for the show tonight. It's one of our favorites, Eric. And
what do you got?
Yeah, I spoke with Gene Bagato recently up in Bodega Bay. He said there have been some beautiful days recently. It's a great time to visit the Sonoma coast. At the Tides Wharf, the best seafood available is waiting for visitors to enjoy either in the restaurant or take home for later. And if you're looking to get away for a night or two, the Inn at the Tides, with its spacious rooms, all with bay views, offers the perfect spot to escape from the stress of life, the Giants, and relax. So if you need a change, I added that, and don't want to travel too far, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay. So we appreciate Gene sponsoring our show to do this.
Absolutely. Perfect.
How are you? You enjoy this tonight?
Jeff, I think he's.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought you were talking to Rick. I have 2 cats that are distracting me right now.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
I enjoyed
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
We forgot to get super. We forgot the super chat. $2 from Bake That Dough. What's up, Aaron? Says Giants need to hit cookies, not pitch cookies.
all right.
There you go.
Big
Right on,
cookie
Aaron.
fan, so I agree.
Oh,
Yeah.
his cookies are amazing. Amazing.
So, what do you think the first shocker is going to be? What do you think? Bullpen,
Ooh.
trade, someone off the 40 goes. Well, what's the first shocker that the Giants are going to have?
I say they trade Eldridge. I think that's the shocker. That's the first
Wow.
shocker. They trade.
Okay. All right. Rick?
Well, that's what I'm for. I don't know who else they have to trade. I mean, who else do they have? I don't know if they have anybody else.
Yeah, if you trade Ramos, well, then you got to fill that hole, and there's already a hole in right field. Yeah, I mean,
that's a fillable hole in Ramos. I mean, I don't think he's not a bad hitter, but he wasn't a good fielder, and he struck out a lot. More of the same stuff. You know, look at Toronto's team. Fashion the team more like Toronto's team than anybody else's team, unless you have a Dodger lineup. I mean, Tony, what a ridiculous lineup that is. My God. Killer lineup. Yamamoto's the last thing that Toronto team needed. You know, the last thing. He was tremendous.
Surgeon. He was a surgeon.
Oh, my
All
God.
right, Jeff, go ahead. First crazy thing.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a signing, probably a notable signing. I just go back to when they signed Willie Adames last year, and I don't know about you guys, but it caught me by surprise because there was no substance connecting the Giants to him or anything like that. It just happened. So my guess is it's probably a signing of some veteran pitcher, somebody we've probably seen before. That'll be kind of the first big move of the offseason.
All right, I'm going to say it's Scherzer.
Yeah.
oh my God.
Look, I'm going to say they want him to be as happy as possible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Scherzer.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Well, we'll see. All right. Well, look, that's the show for tonight. I appreciate everyone being on. Jeff, around the Foghorn, anything doing there that you want to tell us about?
Got a couple of player interviews coming up, so excited to share those. That's about it. Just putting out content every day for our readers, and thanks to everyone for reading.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yes, it is.
This 40-man analyzed it beautifully today, so I'm glad to have him on today.
And don't forget to follow you on Twitter. Your Twitter is fantastic.
Oh.
Great content.
Yeah, and of course, subscribe to our show and like and all that business.
Hit that notification bell. Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. All right, so we'll catch up next week or something. And we'll do this again, and we'll see where they go. So I say Scherzer, you guys say Eldridge. Jeff says a notable signing of someone, a name we know. Okay. All right. That's good.
I'll take that.
All right. So good. Thanks for being with us, everybody. And
All right.
we'll see you next week. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you kindly. Enjoy the next week. We've got a whole bunch of baseball to speak on here at Marty and Friends.